we're doing one of these again.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest installment of the Scribe podcast.
Oh.
We're
not done yet.
We're not done yet. This time it's gonna involve just me, Kevin Matos, the editor, and then the editor-in-chief, and then also Brian, one of our staff writers.
Oh, yay! Finally, I'm a staff writer, not a contributing writer.
Yep.
Promoted.
He's finally been promoted.
I'm also tired, so I'm gonna sound like crap, as I usually do, but more so today. Oh God!
So you sound as bad as your opinions. Alright, well today's topic is going to be based off of something that's been starting to come back up in the news recently.
Oh.
With, even though it happened quite a few years ago, back in 2011.
Yeah, about four years.
Yeah, about 4 years ago, it was the death of Dr. Jack Kevorkian, a very infamously known doctor who was who had committed quite a few, acts of euthanasia, which is also known as assisted suicide.
Yeah.
We noticed that talks about him and like his legacy and what he's done has kind of been popping up recently, and so we figured that would be a good topic to talk about for today. Now, mainly to give a little bit of background info, essentially, Dr. Jack Kevorkian was a known doctor who would come up with different ways and came up with a couple machines to help his patients commit suicide.
Very creative.
There's one for carbon monoxide, and there's one for I think one was for them to inject themselves with like lethal doses of narcotics.
Oh, okay.
But essentially,
an overdose machine.
Essentially, the main issue with these is that it brings up questions of ethics, of the careers
and the value of human life.
The value of human life. Yeah. One of the things he did was he wanted to be charged for murder to try and raise awareness of the issue and raise a lot more debate of it. Because we do have the issue where one of the first tasks a doctor must complete is to do no harm. But at the same time, that's where some of the philosophical debates start to come in, where it's if the person's already suffering,
then
and you extend their suffering, are you then causing harm?
Yeah, essentially, like wouldn't that just be doing more harm to the patient? Wouldn't it be better to just let the patient die?
Now, a lot of people don't really seem to like this topic very much. They also don't seem to like discussing it. They think it's completely bad overall. So we have to remember quite a few important points when it comes to euthanasia. First of all, doctors are in a very, dangerous positions all the time. Like, the insurance companies, like patients, the family of patients, are always looking to make sure nothing goes wrong.
Yeah.
So, euthanasia, people might be thinking like, oh, but then they'll just start doing it all the time. But that's not true, because the doctor can't even lose a patient in an already, responsible and ordinary procedure without being, fact-checked and examined by people of all different insurance companies, like civil lawsuits and everything. So they're already in a very dangerous position where they're monitored 24/7, and even when mistakes happen, they can still be held liable. So engaging in something such as assisted suicide isn't something that they're actually going to take on, with the risk of it being, that being a risk of, already facing lots of problems. We're not going to take any additional risks.
Yeah, you can't really insure suicide. That's not, because suicide is against the law in the first place. It's not. You can't insure someone taking their own life, because there's like there's a human aspect to it. It's like
definitely.
I mean, they can. It's kind of ironic though, because they can insure someone being killed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which I think is another human aspect as well. I don't know, man.
I mean, one thing we have to keep in mind is the fact that the only reason why suicide is against the law is actually is part of a process. Essentially, the person wants to commit suicide, right? Part of it, there's all sorts of reasons for it. You have the fact that the person might be sick, that the fact that the person might not be in the right state of mind, and they could use some help. But at the same time, it's that the main issue with it, the main reason why it was brought up was because if the person decides to commit suicide, a lot of them, tend to do that like in their own home or something like that.
Yeah.
Police are not allowed to enter someone's home unless a crime is being committed or unless they're invited in. If someone is trying to commit suicide in their own home, there has to be a crime, like they criminalize that for the purpose of allowing the police to get there and stop that person from taking their own life.
They could also come in if they see evidence of that about to happen.
Yeah, but essentially if it was like only suicide, the person's like clearly gonna take their own life, they can't, like they see the person up on the roof, they can't go into the house and try to grab him. Like,
well, they could. No, they actually could. If they're on the roof and it looks like they're about to jump off it and the height is enough to kill a person, they could go in and try to enforce them down. The thing is, if they do that, that's a high risk factor because the guy can just jump down. It all comes down to like reasonable doubt. If you have a reason, if the police has a valid reason and good faith that this guy is about to kill himself, right as you leave the door, the police officer can go in, look around, say, hey, don't do that. And, maybe take him under custody if they need to. But, I mean, that's how it is for most cases that are involving, possible murder suspects or like narcotics. I'd assume that it goes with this as well,
Yeah. Now, euthanasia is also very...
Yeah, they're very hardworking.
No.
Euthanasia.
No. See, out of all the possible puns you could make, that was not one of the nice ones.
That was not one of the nice ones.
No. Essentially, when it comes to euthanasia and Dr. Jack Kevorkian's cases, a lot of people have, criticized him, other people have praised him. Like, apparently some of the perspective kind of shifts whether, you treat him as like a patient or like, whether you treat the people as patients or victims based, on all of this. But essentially, I can see like the point that he's making. A lot of the things, like a lot of the machines that, he's created and the people that have used them or used some of his methods to commit suicide, a lot of these people have had, incurable diseases or just diseases that no amount of that are at a point where no amount of treatment would ever make it better. Like extending their life by probably like a couple weeks or so. Like, it's at that point where you're not gonna get almost anything out of it. And even then, like the treatment itself could kill it.
Yeah,
kill a person. It's
kind of like what if you're kind of like 5 inches from death and you're just being prolonged by a machine,
Yeah.
Personally, I'm not. This doesn't apply to everyone, of course. There are people that will want to cling to life no matter what, and I respect that. No one wants to die.
Yeah.
But personally, I would rather go ahead and experience that next stage, which is death, rather than like suffer through life. On a machine, not being able to like walk or really run or do anything. I'd rather be put down than that. And I know it's a harsh way to say it. It's really harsh.
Yeah, it's tough to say, and it's like, it's the kind of thing where it's just, you're gonna get some disagreement, and it's mainly because some people, do want to keep on fighting. Other people want to just like end the suffering. It's like there's various reasons for it.
Yeah.
Like me personally, I would agree with you in that, if it's the kind of thing where you're in a coma, it's like there's almost no chance of you ever coming back. It's like it's been that way for a long time. You just hooked up to a machine. Like, I don't feel like that would be a situation I would be happy with.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I would say, if I'm essentially like if the only thing standing between me and me being comatose and me being dead, it's just like a little beep on a computer, then I would say like just essentially like let me die, because that is not something I would be happy with. I would not be comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Because it's like let's say that you do manage to come out of it, like 10, 20 years later, something like that, whatever.
Time has passed by. It's like
time has passed by. You missed out on a lot. It's like trying to readjust. It's possible some people are willing to hold on to that, but I would say that all the things that have passed, all the things I missed, it's like, would it be worth it? That's only something you would know years after the fact.
Oh yeah, if you're like a part of, if
it's just the kind of thing where you have to be hopeful that it's gonna be worth it.
It's something I can't really explain it, because it's something you have to have experienced. It's what's that story? I forgot that story. Like the guy that goes to the woods. It's a fairy tale. Guys goes to the woods, sleeps for like 50 years, comes back.
That is. Yeah, I forgot the name of it, and I have read Rip Van Winkle.
Okay, are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I was trying to remember, because like I had read it somewhat recently. Like I read it last year.
I remember that story, and he was like, "Oh, like he sees his daughter. She's all grown up. He's like, oh my God, I missed everything." It's sort of that effect. It's depressing, but and people are willing to live through that. That shows their strength. But I don't know, man. Like if I was in that sort of state, I don't know if I could deal with it. But so anyway, we were talking about this last night, and I remember you saying that a couple of states were trying to sort of decriminalize assisted suicide.
Yeah, right. So from what we have so far is definitely okay. So Oregon and Washington State have legalized physician-assisted suicide. And Montana's Supreme Court ruled it lawful in 2009.
That's surprising. I don't know why it is. It's just very surprising.
Yeah.
I thought that no states had assisted suicide as something lawful.
I mean, it's a very small amount, and it's not unlike other things. I don't think unlike other things, I really don't feel like this is something that's gonna pick up track. Like over.
You don't think they'll be taxing assisted suicide like they do weed?
Oh, definitely not. What would they gain from that? Like, are the taxes made in donations to science?
To science,
I guess.
No.
But yeah, I really don't feel like this is something that's gonna be picking up track. Like I see it like 10 years down the road, maybe 2 more states, and like even then.
I don't know, man. 10 years down the road, maybe 1 more state. That's my guess. I don't think we'll be legalizing this sort of thing
anytime
soon.
At least, like, not on like nowhere even close to like a sizable amount of like the population.
Weed and cocaine will be legalized way before this. Medicalized cocaine. I'm sorry. I got my GT.
I mean, I hear Ireland had it legal for like an entire day.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
They survived.
That mix up. Yeah.
Yeah. One, I know this is kind of off topic, but one other thing that had happened was that I believe, if I remember correctly, over in Ireland they might have taken too long to renew, some laws that they had concerning drugs, and so because of that, the time that would pass in between, the previous set of laws ending and the new one starting was a period of 24 hours in which none of that was technically illegal. Well, I guess to have them.
Legal cocaine.
Yeah. I believe it was heroin, methamphetamines.
Oh man. Meth? Heroin and meth?
I think ecstasy was also included.
Oh.
But yeah, essentially, it only lasted for about 24 hours. So it's too late for all of you who,
who missed it.
Who missed it, I guess.
You missed the meth lottery.
Yeah, I guess it was like, I guess it was literally a thing of like you had to be there.
Yeah.
But essentially, like going back to the previous topic, that yeah, euthanasia is, it's just, you know, a very difficult topic to talk about because it's very philosophical. It's like hard to like, it comes, the answers to it require the answers to a lot of, you know, other questions that we just can't answer in life. Like, you know, what, like, is it worth it? Are we gonna, you know, come back? Like, can we overcome it? And it's like there's so many variables, there's so many unknowns to it.
It also honestly goes against nature itself, you know, like nature, our nature, everyone's nature on this earth is to live another day. You know? When you actually go to the mindset where I'd rather die than live, that's against nature itself, you know. Eat or be eaten has been a thing since the beginning of time. When a dog loses his leg, he doesn't lay there and die. If he survives it, he tries to go somewhere else and find his next meal, you know. If a hawk like clips its wings and it can't fly anymore, it'll try to learn how to walk on land, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of things try to live. They don't have that as much durability as we do, but they try to live even after getting knocked down. And for something like this, it's just it's uncanny. You know, it's scary. It's weird.
Yeah, and you know we have to also remember that euthanasia is something that comes up with very extreme cases. It's like it's not that often that it comes up, but when it does, it's like people that have very, very small chances of living. And it's like, if you want to have some example, you know, Stephen Hawking, he's very famous, he's very well known. He's a paraplegic. Like, most of what he can do is like move his fingers or whatever. Just, you know, has to be in a wheelchair all the time, has to be helped a lot for a lot of things.
He uses to type speak too.
Yeah, has to type speak. And so, you have there a case where someone is in a state where they've been knocked down very hard, but they're still trying to keep going. And you know, it's inspirational, but at the same time, there's a lot of people who are who would end up in that position that do not see it do not ever see themselves being capable of, you know, getting to a point where he's at.
Yeah, and it's because they're not as talented as he is. Like, he's a brilliant mind. You know, even though he's been like struck down like this and he's become paraplegic, he still has that mind that can keep him where he is, you know. And he has the mindset of positivity. There's a lot of people that just aren't like him, you know.
And so, you know, you're gonna have situations like that where you're gonna have cases in real life where people have gone through it and have managed to keep on going. But at the same time, it's not an easy thing to do. Like there's people these days that, you know, have like only that are missing a limb, like, you know, like probably lost a leg, probably lost an arm, and have difficulty, you know, just doing everyday things. Like, and you know, some of those find it difficult, others manage to overcome. Same thing with, you know, things like being paraplegic, being in a wheelchair, being in a coma. It's like for a lot of people, it's just a situation, and really all just comes down to the person.
Yeah.
And if it's the kind of person that does not see it getting any better, they see kind of like, you know, the time is limited. They do not believe that they have the strength to, you know, try to push on through this and try to keep going and make it out. Well, you know, they're not going to be able to get very far with that.
Kind of reminds me of Bag of Bones, honestly.
Bag of Bones?
Yeah. I'm talking about the book version, but the movie version had this too. Denzel Washington, I think, was the detective. It's about this guy who got paralyzed. He can't walk anymore. And, you know, he's a detective. He has to solve this murder. And he does all of this from his bed. But the thing is, I think one of the overlying statements was like, oh, he's been asking this doctor to kill him for like years. And the doctor said, he keeps telling him, if I do this, this will either ruin my career or land me in prison. And Denzel Washington was like, I'll make sure that never happens. Like, this guy is willing to make sure that a doctor is cleared from from essentially assisted suicide or murder that people will look at. just so that he could stop living. Of course, at the end of the story, he's like, I'll hold on for a few more years. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's really sad, man. There are some people that really just they can't deal.
Mm-hmm. Because mainly what a lot of us fail to understand is, we can look at examples where people have made it out and say, like, it's like, so it's possible, like, it can be done. We look at it from our point of view and we think, yeah, you just gotta have strength, but we don't know what it's like to actually be in that position. We don't know what it would be like. We don't know how depressing or pessimistic one can become when they're in a state when they can't do anything or they can do very little. And so it's just, that kind of thing that also falls into the whole debate about it. Like, can we experience, like, we people who haven't experienced it, people who have, and it's like, results will always vary.
I'm sorry, I just got caught up in the thought. Are we advocating assisted suicide right now? I kind of feel like I'm not an advocate for assisted suicide, but I see the point of having it. I just want to say this real quick. I'm not that kind of guy that's like, oh, just, let him die. There are people that's come through this fine. There are people who's like, oh, even though I'm crippled, I'm fine. I just want to say I'm not advocating precisely for assisted suicide, but I see the reason why there would be. It's not inherently wrong in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I mean, we're not looking to advocate anything here. One of the important things about it is that, kind of like how we mentioned earlier, how there's a couple of perspectives you can take on this. If you call the people that died with his help his patients or his victims, because if you call them the patients, you would say, you're kind of like taking his side, saying like this is like he did a good thing, or like he did the right thing, or whatever form you want to see it. If you call them victims, then you're criminalizing him. You're saying he's a murderer. He's killed people. You're taking away, the people, like what people ask for his help with and everything. And so, not choosing either one of those terms to define the people that he worked with and the people that died, with his help, kind of helps us to take it from a more, objective angle, like one where we can discuss it, we can see the good sides, the bad sides. As always, it always comes down to not only the people involved, but also the people listening and the kind of personalities that they have. Some people have experiences. Some people have experiences where they might be inclined to agree with him or be inclined to disagree, and that's perfectly fine. We're not looking to, advocate or fight against anything, at least with these podcasts, or at least not with this particular podcast. We know it's a very, controversial topic. It's difficult to discuss, but it is something that should be discussed either way. It's an interesting philosophical
just prick myself
question that just brings to mind, all sorts of questions and questions that people have, unknowns that exist in the world, and answers that people want to find but may never get.
Right.
So no, we're not actually saying like we're advocating it, we're against it.
Yeah. We're
simply discussing it to see. We're seeing both points. We can see like, the fact that we're saying how it can get better, how there are people who have made it out, how there's inspirational, people out there.
Yeah.
Is a way of saying, it's not the only option. Like it's not the best, not necessarily the best option, but we'll simply trying to see.
Yeah.
What is the thought behind it? What are the situations in which this works? Why people would do this? And just that kind of talk.
Yeah, and we're not glorifying what Dr. Kevorkian did either. What he did was essentially against the law, and he got punished for it as he should have been. We're just talking about that sort of moral gray area.
Definitely.
Oh man. This is a heavy subject.
It is.
It's a really heavy subject, man. I never really think about it, It's not something like you get those days when you're like, oh man, I don't even want to deal. Like you get days when you're really, really depressed or sad. Depressed or sad. That's two sides of the spectrum. And you're like, oh man, I don't. But this is something completely different. People are really, really miserable, man.
Yeah.
It's I can't really connect with it. I haven't been so miserable that I've wanted someone else to like take care of that misery.
Yeah.
It's like suicide by cop. You're bringing another person into this, like another person that's gonna have his mind messed up because I just killed this guy. And probably not more so for the physician, because he was probably like a physician was like, oh, I'm trained for this, and he probably has a mindset of I'm just letting this guy rest. But yeah, man, there's some people are twisted enough to just sort of bring another party into this.
Yeah, and let's not forget that it's especially hard for physicians as well, because there are people that come from all sorts of different backgrounds, also have all sorts of different experiences, and yet at the same time a lot of them, it's like even those that are one of the things I've seen is that some of the really great ones have to either kind of shut out a lot of like a lot of the things they communicate with their patients.
Mm-hmm.
You just kind of not get attached to them.
Emotion. They shut out emotion.
They shut out emotions because it's like it would be it's something that can mess you up if you're operating on this person. You're a surgeon. You're trying to take this person's life and you lose them. It's like you got to know them. You wanted them to live, and it's like it's gonna affect you. And then there's also other people where it's like let's say that they're like religious or optimistic. They have like a lot of faith and see a lot of good things, but it's like they're constantly put in a position where they see a whole lot of bad things happening to a whole lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a very difficult career to have.
It's a lot of stress, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of stress. Like imagine being a surgeon. You cut open this dude. You take out, like you're a heart surgeon. You take out this dude's heart, and you're like, I'm holding a guy's heart right now. I was talking to this guy 3 minutes ago. I'm holding his heart in my hand. This dude's life is in my hands right now.
Yeah.
I'm surprised, like in the middle of a surgery, no one's just sort of freaked out like that. And then you get paramedics, people who are in the ambulances who go out and see just horrific scenes sometimes. Dude's legs has blown off or something, or there's a guy shot in the head, and you just have to wonder, man, who has the strength to deal with that?
Exactly.
That's so a lot of strength, man.
It's a lot of, when it comes to this issue, when it comes to the people involved, it's like there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of factors that go into it, and it's just always a difficult topic. It's fine to have a conversation about it every now and then, but we kind of do have to accept that we might never get a concrete answer on this. It might just end up being like a case by case basis, and even then, it might not even be that.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
But yeah. In any case, conversations like this also help us realize just like how much and how stressed, like how much, people in those professions, like people who drive ambulances, people who are doctors, people who work in hospitals, like how much stress they, they're under, like all the kind of stuff that they have to experience, everything they kind of have to see.
But not a lot of things either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just, it helps you get like a slightly better perspective on, the doctor's point of view and just kind of like the things that they have to deal with. And yeah, so it's like, I guess at the very least, it's a very good, it's like a nice reminder to be a bit more appreciative of the, staff at a hospital.
What we have, your people that can't even, there are people with no hospitals, I'm not going to go into the whole, we should cherish everything and we're bad people because we don't thing that a lot of people have been going through. Because, we're just living our day-to-day lives. We don't really think about, oh, man, I should thank that paramedic down the street. And, people are just too busy for that. And I realize that.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes we should just look around us and say, wow, we have a secure we're in a secure country with people that will just come to your aid just by dialing 3 numbers.
Yeah.
It's something to really think about. And I'm hearing stories. Like I'm gonna put this in because I always love talking about Puerto Rico with Kevin, but I'm hearing stories with Kevin. It's like fucking it takes 30 minutes to go to the grocery store in Puerto Rico because apparently roads just don't exist, and people on the non-existent roads come every 3 days or something, and
of course that's hyperbole, but. But yeah.
Yeah, we take a lot of things for granted, and I realize we don't always think about it.
Yeah. I was like, that's why it's nice to every now and then sit down and discuss things like this, because it helps you. I guess it helps you get a bit more of a refreshing view on things. It's like, even if it doesn't really change you much or change your attitude towards things, it gives you a little bit of breathing room. It gives you a nice bit of a break, and then you might want to decide to continue on with your day-to-day life as you did before. You might decide to try and help someone out more every now and then, but at the very least, you managed to take a break. You thought about things. You address things that are probably mentally healthy to address, and well. It does something.
It's cool.
All right. Well, that is it for the end of this podcast. What? I appreciate all of you.
Wait. Oh shit! It's been 31 minutes. I'm retarded. I'm sorry, Chloe. Forgive me.
We're gonna edit that part out.
No, we're not. No.
Yes, we are.
It's good. It's good.
No.
Let's talk about our spring breaks.
No.
Let's talk about our spring breaks.
How do you want us to go from
my spring break
to spring break? No. Stop.
I did not. Thanks for listening.
Thank you all for listening to our podcast. We understand this was kind of a pretty issue to tackle. Yeah. A pretty heavy issue to tackle.
Yeah.
Some of you might not be, comfortable with thinking about it or listening to us talk about it or whatever, but
yeah.
We appreciate those of you that do, those of you that couldn't. We still appreciate, you tuning in, checking this out.
And our next podcast is going to be on Legos, building blocks of America, or just plain terrorism. Check it out.
Yeah, I'm going to have to see that to believe it. All right. Have a nice day, everyone.
Bye-bye.
This is the Scribe, signing off.
Signing out.